Welcome everyone to another King Reflections episode, and today we have a special guest, Scott Keighran. He's been in prison twice, and the second time that he was in prison, he actually wrote a numerous amount of poems and decided to then put them in a book. In today's episode, we actually go over some of those poems and some of the chapters that explain the poems and explain why he came up with those poems. So it gives you a little bit of a taste of what the book holds, and I encourage you to actually grab a copy of this book and read it for yourself. It's quite insightful of how the prison and the whole system works, the whole process of getting into prison, and also just the thoughts that go through your mind and the amount of stress and anxiety that comes with that whole process, being away from family, being away from friends, and trying to push yourself through in an environment that is quite intense and quite alpha. And you're always in the state of, like I said, anxiety, watching out for yourself and trying to just survive mentally and physically. But I'll let Scott explain it in this episode. So sit back, enjoy, and I hope you get a lot out of this episode as much as I did, especially have a conversation with him and letting him just talk and being able to express himself. It was just a great insight to who he was and how much development he had made since being out of prison and while being in prison as well with those poems. So please have a listen, take those nuggets and apply them to your life as well, because you'll be a much better person and gain a lot of benefit from it. Enjoy. All right, guys, I'm here with Scott Keighran. He's an ex-biker associate. Just recently came out of prison last October in 2022, and he's actually written a book. And this book is full of his poetry that he wrote when he was in prison. And I know Scott via my friend Callan Boyd. Shout out to you, Callan, for introducing me or getting me onto this book and to Scott. And Callan was like, "Oh, I've got a friend that's actually just written a book because he wrote poems during your sentence." Both sentences or just one?
No, just the most recent one.
Just the most recent one, yeah. And I'm there going, well, I have to jump on because Callan was just like praising you of how much you've changed your life and how much you've, since the second one that you were in, how much you've just chosen, in a sense, the king path that I always preach, the much more productive development growth path, rather than being stuck in your ways with the destructive path, which was all about crime and stuff. So when Callan told me about this, I was like, I have to get onto this. And that's when I reached out to you, or we reached out to each other. And I was like, when is the book coming out? You know, because I need to get a book. And then
you got the first copy. Actually, I think I sent you a PDF before it was edited.
Yeah, and I was going to say you sent me a PDF. And then when I got the book, I was actually, because I read the first 3 chapters of the PDF, and you had the poem first before.
Yeah, that's right. We changed the format. That was the publisher's idea, but when he suggested it, I thought it was a much better format because I've kept the chapters quite short. Most of the chapters, as you would know, probably about 5 pages. Some are even shorter. Yeah. Some are 7 or 8. But I thought I really wanted to nail down on the content of the chapter and what it was all about, and then leave the poem to the end so that the reader was left with something.
Oh, okay.
You know, like some people will devour a book in one go, and other people will read it in segments.
Yeah.
I know that, especially my time in jail, a lot of people will say to me, "I can't read." Like, they can read, but they can't read books. So they'll say that they'll read a page, and then by the time they get to the end of it, they've forgotten half of what they've read.
Yeah.
And I would say to them, well, reading and retaining the information is a skill just like any other one. You just got to do it again and again.
Correct.
I was the same when I started reading.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will pick up that book and they're at the beginning of their reading, journey. Some people will read one book and never read another one, and some people will read one, love it, and read 100. Yeah. So, but I wanted to capture, those people that have never read before or read 1 or 2 books with a short attention span. I thought I want to cut to the point because one of the main reasons that the overarching goal of that book was to be of benefit to people, whoever it was that was reading it.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of people that read that book that have got issues around drug and alcohol abuse, have got trauma issues from their past, and they're looking for something.
Yeah.
And if those people are not experienced readers, that I want to still be able to cut through, so I kept it short, kept the chapters, digestible.
Yeah.
So when I was the publisher suggested to keep the poem at the end, I thought, well, that's actually probably a better method.
Yeah.
That somebody that is in that position could read a short chapter, then read the poem and put the book down, and then consider it. Because, like if somebody's looking to make changes in their life, there's information in there that might be able to help them, but changes and the work is up to the individual. So I want them to be able to go away, have a think about it, add their own thoughts or their own experiences to what they've read, and hopefully that can help them out. So I like the format with the poem.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because I was actually going to ask you, because I prefer the poem first and then the text. But that makes sense why you would put then your chapter first and the poem at the end. Yeah.
Initially, I thought so too. Like that's when I was thinking of how to format it.
Yeah.
Like I wrote that book pen and paper in prison and notepad.
Yeah, that's insane.
So like there was all over the place. I just had little numbers at the top 1, 2 chapters, and I thought, how am I going to structure it? And I've got no idea. I've obviously never done anything like that before. So in my head, putting the poem first made sense. Because everything started with the poetry.
Yes.
That was how I started. That's how prison poetry started.
Correct. Yeah.
There's no book in my mind. There was no intention to publish even the poems or anything. I was doing what I wanted to do for myself. So because it all started with the poem, it made sense in my head to put the poem first.
Yeah.
And then after a conversation with the publisher and he explained it and I thought about it, I thought, well, that will probably be more effective in what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So that's the format.
Yeah. And what I actually did was I actually went back and read the poem first, read the chapter, and then read the poem again. That's how I did it, just because I was like, there was some poems where I was like, oh, I'm a bit confused on it. And then read the chapter, I'm like, now it makes sense.
Well, because of the original format, there is some parts where I'm writing in the chapter which is referencing the poem, and the way that it's structured, you haven't read the poem.
Yeah.
So you can tell that I have started with one plan and ended up with another.
Yeah.
So look, how anyone chooses to read the book is up to them. Some people will cut to poems, like they obviously at the start. There's a list of chapters and where it is, and there might be some poems or information there that people want specifically, and will cut straight to that. So, however, once you buy the book, it's yours to do what you like with it. You can burn it if you like. If you don't like it. So how you
Don't
read
burn
it? Don't burn it. Please give it to someone.
Well,
re-gift it. But so however anyone chooses to read it, whatever's going to be most benefit to them, it's yours to do what you like with.
Yeah. What I loved about it though is that, like you said, it was such an easy read. It was straight to the point, and I think that's what. Exactly for someone like me who has no idea about the politics of prison, and you even go into one of the chapters with that, the prison politics, and even just the very first chapter, how you go into the detail of the process heading into jail. Like, I have no idea about any of it, and I don't have any friends that have been in a sense jail. I do have one friend at the moment in there. But reading it was like a very good insight for me, going, okay, now I'm a little bit educated in this. Now I understand where people are going through, where their head is at, especially going in.
I started with that poem. It wasn't the first that I wrote, but I started with that poem because all the journey that I went through, my self-development, my growth, and this learning journey that I've been on started with, like, obviously I had been to prison on previous occasions, but this turnaround and me developing these philosophies and, changing things in my life started when I came into prison this most recent time. Yeah. So I thought I really wanted to paint a picture for people that's reading the book to say that this is how it started. I wanted to put them in the shoes. I wanted to paint a visual. This is what it looks like, this is what it feels like, especially how it feels like, because it is a daunting experience for anybody going through that experience. But because I talk about, like hitting rock bottom, when I went in that time, I wanted to paint a picture of this is what it is like. But I also think that too, that will grab interest, like, because for someone like yourself, the whole process of going into prison is a mystery, and you're thinking, well, what would that be like? Like, people ask me questions like, do you get raped in jail? And I was like, no, you don't. But
I am curious about that.
But no, you don't. I probably get asked that question more than any other question. Like, out of all the questions people can ask me, like, have you read the book? Is there anything else you want to know? They just want to know if you got fucked while you were in prison. So I'm like, no, I didn't. So, but like, it's a whole foreign experience to most people, and I think that it is probably a good starting point, obviously, and to grab someone's attention. Because like I said before, like I really do want the book and the content in it to be of benefit to people, and a part of that is to grab your attention. And it's something that people are genuinely interested in, regardless of what your view is on, like crime, the prison system, or, how things should go, or, whether people deserve a second chance or not. It's, I guess, irrelevant, but people are still genuinely interested in. So I thought that was a good place to start.
Yeah. So when you were in prison, and because you said in the book you mentioned that you read a lot of books, or you read a lot of books, and did you read a lot of books before the first poem came about, or were you like?
Yeah, I did. So before I went to prison the first time, I hadn't read a lot. I think I started when I was a teenager. I read the Harry Potter books, and I loved them. I really like the times when I was like down at the clubhouse or in jail, and people, I'd mention that I've read Harry Potter. People were like, obviously these are like hardened criminals, and I'd be like, don't badmouth Harry. Harry's a gangster. So I really enjoyed the books, but they were like the first books that I read, and I might have read one or two others, but not a lot. So by the time I was in prison for the first time, I was 29. I went in for the first time, and I'd probably read 10 books max. So like I wasn't much of a reader. And obviously you got a lot of time in there with nothing to do, nothing constructive to do. So I did read here and there. I had a cellmate who read a lot, and he sort of introduced me to a few books and got me going. But even the first sentence that I'd done was just over a year. It wasn't a great deal, but when I went in the second time, that's probably when I started reading a lot more. And then the most recent time, which is a 4.5 year sentence or just under, that I really got stuck into it then, because I was hungry for knowledge. I wanted to learn, so I was sort of, before I was probably more reading, just for something to do, entertainment value, a bit of knowledge or whatever. But this time I was really after it, you know what I mean? Like I was thinking, if there's some bit of information in there that I could use to help me, then I'm going to seek it out. So sometimes it was just reading novels because you want something to do. But I think, like we discussed before we started recording, that like reading is. Or were we recording when I mentioned? I can't remember. But like it's something you just get better at as you go on. So for any chance I get to read, I will. But then I read a bit, on some subjects like philosophy, and I read autobiographies, and then books on Buddhism, books, anything with information in it that I thought could be useful for me, no matter what it was. I want to know it. I want to, like, I've had books piled up in my cell, like 10 or 15 piled up there, and I read every single one of them. So it was more this most recent sentence, and then I think like I was able to take pockets of information that I was able to use myself, but then I sort of went on, like as I started to feel like I was gaining some benefit from it, I started to form my own thoughts and philosophies and stuff about it, certain subjects, and that's when the poetry started. I thought, I've got my own views and opinions, and I've been able to apply what I've learned through reading books to my own situation, and then then I can sort of go on to say, I've walked in these shoes, I've got the experience, I've lived it. Whereas one of the things I say in my book, which I think could probably be misinterpreted a little bit, hopefully, like in one of the chapters I cleared it up, but I said, you may not like something written from some academic wanker. But I did go on to say, like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to someone with a tertiary qualification or someone that's qualified, because there is real value in going and speaking to someone like that.
Yes.
But some people will resonate with somebody who's had the lived experience more, and I can say that I am speaking from knowledge that I've gained through my own experiences, and if somebody if I talk about drug addiction, if I talk about violence, if I talk about the mistakes that I was making in my life, that might grab somebody's attention who say, well, I was like you, I'm like you. I was a kid with with problems, and I lashed out and I turned to drugs, or whatever. If they're more inclined to take information from somebody or a point of view from someone who's lived it, then that's my goal. Then I can be of benefit. So the stuff that I talk about in the book is stuff that I've learned through my own experience. Yeah.
What books stood out to you the most when you were in prison?
One that really motivated me, like no book's ever motivated me before. When I could get it out. No book ever motivated me like this before. motivated me was Can't Hurt Me by Dave Goggins.
Oh, yeah.
So I think anybody who reads that book goes, I'm going to go for a fucking run.
When I was listening to it, I'm there going, I feel like I need to run while listening to this.
You think, I'm a piece of shit. I'm so lazy. Like, I've got to go run at least 30 Ks today just to square up a little bit. But that
100%.
I think that was a great book to go get off your ass and fucking do something. Like, by that stage, I'd written a few poems, but I hadn't even formulated any plan for the book at that point. But it was later on, once I started sort of having a plan and goal for producing a book, that I drew on that information and that inspiration that I got from that book. Just like, have a fucking go, get out and do it. Doesn't matter how hard it is or the setbacks. If you get 30 publishers that knock it back, I'll go to the next 30 until I get it done. So that was that's a great book. It has a real impact. I don't think anybody's read that book and goes, I didn't really get much out of it. Like, anyone who's read that book goes, that's a fucking great book.
100%, yeah.
So another one, I liked Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Yeah, I heard you mention that actually in Russell's podcast.
Yeah,
what's Russell's podcast, sorry?
The Stick Up podcast.
Stick Up. We'll take that in then.
Yeah, nice little plug for it. That book, what I took from that was double down, keep going. Like, he started selling shoes out of the boot of his car.
Yeah.
Like, it's where anybody can relate to that. Like, we all start, any business endeavor, and no matter how successful it ends up being, like, unless you've got millions of dollars, to pump into it, most of us start in that position where we're just having a go with not much. And anybody can gain inspiration. Like, he was not, his family weren't wealthy. He was not wealthy. He was just a runner. That was it. And he just thought, I can make better shoes. And he went out and had a go and sold shoes out of his car. And every time he made a profit, he put it back into the business and went again and again, and he started enjoying success. And even when he was starting to generate good income, he was still just that mentality of double down. So even if you take the business aspect out of that and you apply it to another area of your life, just double down, keep going, don't give up. You'll always have people, when you're trying to achieve something, try and tell you that you shouldn't do it. There's so much negativity when you try and do anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And that attitude, that mentality, his philosophy, even though it was applied to business, you can apply it other places. That's something that I really took from that. Like, just have a fucking go. And somebody tells you can't, you go, fucking watch me. And he did. That's what he did. And that book had a great deal of impact. And I would say that I read a lot of books on Buddhism.
Oh, wait a second. What was that book called again?
Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog by who?
Phil Knight.
With a K?
Yes. And then the books on Buddhism. Before we were recording, I said I'm not that religious a person, but I really love the philosophy of that religion, because it's all about you taking onus and ownership for the things that are going on in your life, no matter what they are, good or bad. It all boils down to you, and you look at any situation, or just about any situation, you can lay some blame to yourself, whether it's good or bad, because sometimes you take a course of action that's really beneficial and you can say, well, I'm responsible for that. Which something that really resonated with me, because that's when I was at my rock bottom and thinking, how the fuck am I going to turn things around? And, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better father. I thought, this is all on me. Like, it's my responsibility. It's not my son's fault that his dad's not around. It's my fault that I'm not around. It's not anybody else's fault in the community. It's not the police's fault that I'm in jail. It's my fault. It's my fault. Yeah. And it's only like when you can take ownership and look at yourself in that way that you can start to make positive changes. And that's what the philosophy, a part of the philosophy of that religion is, to get to the core of why things happen and what's going on and how you can, make the necessary adjustments and be better. So that I read a lot of books on, a lot of text on Buddhism, because it was I was already in that thought process. It was just something that I was able to draw on and connect with. Yeah. So I would say that that's probably what I've got the most out of it, I would say.
What I appreciate though is that you did, even as your first book, you wrote it because you wanted to make an impact on people's lives. You wanted it to hit hard in a sense, and in a sense prick them, to push them on the right direction, sort of thing, from your own experience. And you were like, constantly throughout the book, like you said, with that concept with Buddhism about taking responsibility of your own actions and your own decisions. It is riddled pretty much throughout the whole book, which I really appreciate. And I think that's one thing that I really liked about it is, like I said, it was short chapters, straight to the point, and that you're encouraging the reader, just like in a sense like David Goggins, to really put their own behavior and their own actions and their own thought process into question and go, hang on, am I on the right path? Am I doing everything I can to improve myself, or am I doing everything not to improve myself and end up in jail like you did, sort of thing?
It doesn't matter what you write in a book or you say to somebody, you can only ever point them in a direction. You can't do the work for somebody. You can't make the decision for them. If they don't make the decision for themselves, they're never going to do it anyway. And I always use the analogy of a smoker. You can tell them, this is how much it's costing you, this is the health effects, this is what it's going to cost you in the long run. You're probably going to die 10, 20, 30 years young, XYZ. But it doesn't matter what you say to them or how convincing an argument you make to them. They'll only do it when they decide for themselves that they're ready to.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what anybody's looking for to get out of this book or any other book or anything they're looking for in their life. You can't do the work for them. You can't give them all the answers either. I think one of the reasons I feel like that my journey to date has been successful, I hope it continues, is though because I figured it out for myself. I didn't have any help. And I was seeking help. I was looking for it and I got none. So I had to do the work and find the answers for myself. I started asking myself the right questions. But that process only started when I decided, like I said, I hit rock bottom. I thought, I can't do this no more. I'm not going to live my life like this. So you have to do the work for yourself. If you read this book, there might be if you're looking for something, there only might be one chapter, one verse, something in there that resonates with you that gets you to that point where you're going to make the decision for yourself. So I could have made the chapters longer and rabbled shit, made them 30, 40 pages, but it's not going to make a difference. Yeah. It's when you decide that you're going to make the choices for yourself, then you'll be successful.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll go through that as we go through not every chapter. Oh my gosh, there's 26 chapters altogether in this book.
Be here till Thursday.
What was that?
We'll be here till Thursday.
Yeah. So I'm just going to ask him to read some of the poems and then just elaborate on some of them. So, very first one that I want to get you to, in a sense, recite. You don't have to recite all of it. You can just recite what favorite parts of the poem. Like as you can see here with my book, I've only highlighted two verses that really stood out to me.
Yep.
People that on camera.
No, I'll read the whole thing.
And then just elaborate. So this is the very first poem that he apparently wrote, according to the little chapter that comes with it. And
I can verify that it is the first poem that I wrote.
It's right here in front of me.
Just ask, I'll tell you.
And I'm actually curious, like, how did the poem come about? Like, and this is the questions I'll ask you after you read the poem. So please go ahead.
Your poem. Do you still remember we met when we were young, lighting an inner spark, illuminating our journey that was to come? A force exists between us. I don't know I can give a description. Kindred spirits or pairs, a force of attraction pulls like gravitation. We wandered from the light of one another, as is with life sometimes. We have each had troubles, things to work through, falling on hard times. You feel this connection, I know this to be true. Energy draws us together, you to me and me to you. This bond we share endures as perennial as the seasons. To deny its existence defies all logic and any good reason. Until the day comes that we reunite as is intended, I wait for you, our journey in time remains suspended. Our souls are pairs made for one another, we are doubles, to share through time side by side a couple. Most will never find the one in this precious lifetime. To know you're mine and walk away would be an egregious crime. When fate's wheel turns and aligns your path with mine, we'll find each other as is intended for the rest of time. This is my message and I send it out to you. To fight to be together is a struggle that is not new. We may cause pain to some in our quest of the heart, enduring adversity to find what has been ours all along from the start.
Excellent. Very good. Round of applause.
Thank you.
What does it feel like reading your poem out loud?
That poem, to be honest, I undernut whether to put in. I'm sorry. I told you you'd have to tell me to keep the microphone up on multiple occasions. Yeah, I undernut whether to put it in.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought the reason that I decided to put it in was because it was the first one I wrote. It how the journey started. So I thought from that point it was important.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a poem about a girl that I was interested in, that we had a little connection thing going on, and just life took us in separate directions. And she's moved on. She's happily married, and I'm happy in my relationship, and I'm happy for her, and I'm happy where I am. But a couple of reasons I decided to put it in, other than just that's where the journey started, was, I think it's important just to be honest and open, but also too, and a second reason that I decided to publish this poem and put this in the book was that it's a reminder for me that at any time, life can take unexpected turns. When I first wrote this poem, it was just something that I was thinking about this girl at the time, and the poem just started to form in my mind. It was completely unexpected, and I just decided to start writing it down. So when it was time to compile the poems and put them in the book, I decided, no, I have to put it in, because there's a good message in it. In that, you might be in a shit place in your life, you might be in a good place in life, wherever you are in your life. You just don't know what's around the corner, what's next, and where it might take you. So I thought it was important for that reason to put it in, so that, which I discuss in the explanation of the poem, to say that, that's why I decided to put it in there. So anyway, it's in there, and I hope you enjoy it.
I think what I loved about it was the vulnerability, of what you're obviously truly feeling. And even though you were thinking of someone specific, to me, poems like this, because you haven't mentioned any specific names.
No.
And you haven't really mentioned any specific features of her.
No.
The colour of her hair, the colour of her eyes, it's not even there.
No. So it was more about the way that I was feeling.
Yeah.
Which I think is important. In a lot of my poetry and what I explain, it's my experience and what I'm feeling. So when you're lying in your bed, in your cell, looking at the roof, you think 1,000 different thoughts. Things go through your head. Sometimes you're in a cell for long periods of time, especially I spent considerable amount of time in segregation. So you might not have a TV, you might not even have a pen and paper. So you've got nothing but time just to think and ponder. So lots of things do go through your head. So think about, things that landed you in jail. You're missing your family. You're thinking about a good time you had. When I travelled Europe just before I come to jail for the first time, I would reminisce on those type of things. Girls, mates, all sorts of shit. You think about just about anything. You're never going to have more time just to sit and think than you do when you're in a prison cell. So this is what I was thinking about at the time, and it just started forming in my mind, the poem, and started just putting pen to paper. It was probably the next day that I wrote my second poem, which I couldn't tell you which one it was after that. But and then once I started the process, sometimes I was in a week I'd be doing 2 and 3 at a time. Yeah. But this is where it all started for me. So yeah, it made the cut.
Yeah, and I actually that's one thing that I do appreciate is for me is reading. It's you could apply it to anyone because it's a feeling. It's not in a sense specifically people can put this and put that into someone in their life sort of thing. Yep. That's what I really appreciate it is I
think everybody's got someone that they've had it in their past that they think about, they're fond of, and so I think it's not obviously definitely not a foreign experience. I think anybody that reads that would be able to relate in some way.
Yeah, 100%. Next one I actually want to talk about is your friend Harley.
Yep. So it's an ode to Harley on page 53.
Yeah, so Ode to Harley, number 7, chapter 7, sorry. And this one actually, I really enjoyed reading because, again, you're being vulnerable in the sense of, and especially being honest of how, I don't want to be a spoiler alert because I want people to read this book.
Just give them a taste and that's all you're getting.
Exactly.
Prisonpoetry.com.au.
What is it, $25.95? $24.95?
I got to lay something like that.
Just the vulnerability, because in the book you explain that he was one of your best mates, he was your best mate, and that you would do stupid things, risky things together, and obviously the one thing was too risky or went right, too wrong in a sense. And I think I actually teared up when actually reading this poem, like, because I could feel the grief through it.
Yeah, well, in anything that I write about, regardless of the subject matter, I have to be open and honest. People will connect with you if you talk to them openly and honestly. And if somebody, like I said, is looking for something to gain benefit out of this, then I have to be open and honest. If you want to make changes in your life, you have to be honest with yourself. If you want to cut through to people to help them make changes in your life, you have to be open and honest with them, and they have to be open and honest with you and with themselves. So I didn't leave anything out. Like, when I was talking about a subject, I didn't think, I don't really want to go into it in that way. I thought, I'm laying it all out. I'm exposing myself. I'm being nothing but transparent, and some of the subject matter is difficult subject matter to discuss, but I think you have to be honest. And if you're not honest, or you withhold some bits of information, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the people you're trying to benefit and trying to help a disservice, and you're probably not going to connect with people in the way that you want to. So, and I also find it therapeutic for myself. Like, I found the poetry therapeutic. That when I started, it was for me. It wasn't for anybody else. It was just getting noise out of my head. And I think a lot of the noise in your head that bounces around is a lot of the cause of your own stress and anxiety and the things that you worry and stress about. So for me, getting it out was, obviously I've been through lots of traumatic experiences and traumas and grief and all that type of stuff. It's a tough subject. Grief is tough to deal with. Unfortunately, it's something we're all going to go through at some point or another, and it's probably something we're going to go through regularly. Like, it's going to happen again and again. But it's something that people need help with as well. Of course, it's so tough, and it's a very raw experience. So I thought, well, I have to be open and raw about the way that I feel and the way that I dealt with it, because trauma, as well, is something that you have to address, you have to deal with, and it's fucking hard. Like, my mate burnt to death in a fire, and I got burnt trying to save his life. It's a fucking horrible way to die. The experience was a horrible experience to go through. So obviously there's things, post-traumatic stress and stuff like that that's attached to that. And if I were to just shut off or not talk about it, then it's going to be damaging for me. It's only going to get worse. And then if somebody who else has been through some kind of traumatic experience is looking for maybe, if I'm open and honest, they might get something out of that can help them. So I can now talk about these things and be fine. I don't get triggered by it. I don't go back into some, like they'd say that you can relive the experience and stuff like that. I can think about the experience now, and it's not like I feel nothing, because I don't. It's my best mate. It's a horrible experience. I wish it didn't happen. And I feel, I still feel grief, but I'm very much in control of it, and I feel that I can just discuss it openly without any issue. So I wanted to be open and raw and honest. And if somebody reads it, like you said that, sometimes, oh, fuck, this is fucking pretty raw, this is tough to read, then I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Can you read it for us?
Yeah. An ode to Harley. What a time we had together. Although brief, your impact was profound. Despite the short years, my friend, we are forever bound. Your life cut short too soon from this world you departed. I'll find you in the next life. Our friendship has only just started. Your daughter is so like you. She reminds us of you in every way. We all miss you so much and think of you each and every day. Those you left behind, I promise I will always care for. I'll be there for them just as I was the friend you were always there for. You live by morals, a loyal friend and a man of conviction. My memory of you standing proud, you truly are a vision. Our days were wild, always doing things our own way. We lived on our own terms. I loved every minute of every single day. Good at pissing people off, you would have thought it was our focus. We definitely had a knack for making everyone fucking hate us. Those in our circle, they knew we meant no harm, but to everybody else, our behaviour was cause for serious alarm. 1,000 fond memories I miss those days with you, my brother. Until we meet again, rest well. Once more, I look forward to us seeing one another.
That's good. I actually wrote highlighted, as people can see. I highlighted a lot.
Well, you're studying for an exam.
Yeah. I started highlighting and analyzing books this year. It was one of my goals, is to actually deep dive, not just listen to the audiobook, but actually, because I listened to the audiobook first and read it. Unfortunately, I didn't get an audiobook for this one, but I will. But I actually highlighted in this section, like
www.prisonpoetry.com.au. It's available.
$24.99.
I think it's that much.
Not an Audible yet, but it will be soon, hopefully.
Who's my publisher? I'm going to shout, mate, get it done. I've got to out you. Hurry up.
Who is your publisher? We can probably
This is rubbish. You got a week to get it out, or I'm outing you.
I need it. So one of the sections was like that you read was, I've also learned something about the strength of character and compassion that people are capable of. For Harley's loved ones to show the love and support, compassion and forgiveness they have towards me for the most horrific of circumstances, while enduring their own immense emotional pain and suffering, is a testament to the amazing quality of human beings they are. So, yeah.
So Harley's mum and our friendship group, also Harley's daughter's mother and her family. So obviously, when anyone dies in any situation, you're leaving behind a lot of people who are going through a terrible time. But the circumstances of Harley's death, the way that he died, he went early, it was from doing something stupid. Obviously, that's just a whole other facet it's a whole other set of circumstances for them to deal with. It was very difficult for them.
Yeah, because it could have been prevented.
Yeah, well, we didn't have to do what we done, obviously. It was just something fucking very stupid that cost him his life. He paid the ultimate price for making a mistake, and you can't undo it. And it's not the family's fault what happened. It's fucking my fault and Harley's fault. And there's no one else to blame. So in that situation, and a big part of grief is, like they just say, for instance, like somebody loses a friend or a relative in a car accident. The part of grief is a feeling of, like say the mother of that child that's died would feel guilty for letting them having drove. You're sort of like you're looking to attribute blame either to yourself or to somebody else. That's a part of grief. And it would be very easy, and they would be well within their rights to say, well, this is your fucking fault. You done this. Look what you've caused us. And they would want, to be angry and rightfully so if they were, but then they haven't been. They've been extremely supportive of me, which I didn't understand for a long time. Like I thought, I don't deserve this. Like I was going through my own grief, but obviously the impact for them was much greater. Harley's daughter was only 6 months old when he died. The impact for her is forever. She's never going to get to have all those good times that every little girl should have with her dad. There's a potential for there to be a lot of problems in her own life as a result. And then for his partner is now raising her on her own. That's tough. That's a life sentence for her. So like I'm fully aware of the impact. And that's something that I've made sure that I recognise, because I was going through my own shit. But these people are going through something a lot tougher and through no fault of their own. So it would be very easy for them to have turned right on me, and I'd understand if they did. So it actually was a shock to me. I was thinking, I don't deserve this. I feel awkward. There's always that guilt. Like it's, So I wanted to point out the strength of character. Like I really learned something about that, for them to be in their position and to show me compassion and they were supporting me. And I was thinking, like, you're the one that are going through the hardship. You're the one that had something like the most terrible of circumstances, the most devastating of circumstances, and you're supporting me. Like that really I'll never forget that, and I'll always be thankful for that. It's something that I'm still trying. It's like I've got to try and come to terms with, because I think, would I be capable of that in the same situation? Yeah. And it's all well and good to take the view that, I'm a compassionate person, okay, but if you can't fucking ever know how that would feel to be in that situation unless you were in it. Yeah. And when you're in a situation like that, you don't know how you're going to react. So yeah, exactly. I'll be forever grateful, and it points towards the quality of people that they are, and the levels of compassion and understanding and forgiveness that people are capable of. And it's like I said, I don't know if I could do it myself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I said, it's not until you put in that position that you don't know what you're capable of. We like to say that we're like the better person and would be forgiving and hold compassion and hold as much as we can judgment But again, you can't say that until you're actually in that position yourself.
You're going to be in an extremely emotionally heightened state. And then when you're in those heightened states, you're sort of, your higher brain function shut down. And that's where you have those things where you can think about something logically and you can think something through and think, I should be compassionate and all that type of stuff. You're not thinking that. You just think you're just going through fucking hell.
Yeah.
And just reacting. And
it's exactly what it is, yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, until you're in that position, you could never say how you would react. And the way that they reacted, like I said, to the strength of character. That's what I can put it down to.
Yeah, wow. I actually love how you put these little quotes at the end of each chapter. This one, for this specific poem: when friendship leaves us through death, we feel cheated in life. Life doesn't play fair, so I vow to win the game for both of us. By Amy Hoover.
Yeah. So I thought that was really appropriate because I feel there's lots of things that have motivated me to change my ways, to write the book and the path and the things that I want to do next and be of benefit and help out and, be constructive and give back. And there's an aspect of redemption too that I want to, I've put negativity out in through what I've done. I was very violent, there's been lots of destruction, destruction, and I want to be constructive. And so there is an aspect of redemption to that, but a motivating factor. There's lots of motivating factors. In and of itself to be a benefit to other people, but to show my son, this is how I want to be the type of man that I would like him to be. And the way that you do that is to lead by example. I want him to think, fuck, I'm proud of my dad. So that's a motivating factor. But also too, Harley's life is over. He's run his course. But I think I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to, put positivity out there. That's a motivating factor for you, for your family. Your life he lost his life for doing something stupid. Obviously you can say you lost your life for nothing, but I don't want it to mean nothing. It can mean something. And if I can do the things that I want to do and help people and be of benefit, then he's a motivating factor. So I'll say, I'm going to win this shit for us. I'm doing this for us. Along with my family, my son and his family and all the people that are showing me support. I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to pay it back. And then, hopefully that his family can also feel like that he's still living on in some way. He's still doing some good. He's a motivating factor. I'm doing it for you because of you.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think there's some redeeming aspect to that, to say that your life was not fucking forfeit for no fucking reason and it's for nothing and you've forgotten about it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So this next chapter, and just along the lines of talking about death, and this one's called "When Your Number's Up."
Yep.
And this is a constant theme that actually plays through my day in, day out. It's funny how you mentioned a chapter called "Day."
There is one called "Day in, Day Out," but probably a very different subject matter from what you think of.
Just this concept of death, like we are eventually going to die. That it's inevitable. What are you doing with your time? What are you putting on the table?
Even when you phrase it like that, it's inevitable. It makes it seem like it's a long way off. It's inevitable, but that's a long way down the track.
Tomorrow.
Mate, I don't want to jinx you, but you might die in a car crash on the way home.
Exactly. It's funny because...
that doesn't happen.
That's funny because I had a thought of that yesterday. I'm going, how awkward if I actually had got in a car crash and died on the way up.
Just make sure you send me the edited version of this podcast before you do. I don't want these 2 hours to be for fucking no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, where's the USB? Did you find it in the fucking wreckage?
I'll give you all my passwords before I go.
Oh, don't do that, mate. I'll dig up some shit on you.
But no, this is what one of the chapters that I actually really loved. So, poem.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Please. Actually, look at that. Highlighted the whole thing.
I'm glad you liked it. All right, when your number's up. None of us know how many years we have on this earth. Some people's flame burns long, while others' light is just a burst. This uncertainty makes life special, each day a wonderful gift to savour. The fact our time is finite, only adding more spice to life's flavour. No matter your faith, regardless of the beliefs you may hold, one thing that's universal to all, when you're called, you go, young or old. To worry is foolish, for worrying cannot change the inevitable. Your precious time is fleeting. Make the best use of the time you have available. Right now is the best time to set goals and follow your dreams. When your number's up, finish or not, that's the end of your schemes. I love my life, the good and the bad, the full experience I'll know. I hope I'll live 100 years, but when death calls, without fear I'll go.
So one verse that I really liked is the second last one, where it says, right now is the best time to set goals and follow your dreams. When your number's up, finished or not, that's the end of your schemes. And even that concept, like, whether your schemes in a sense are good or bad, that's it. Like once you're gone, those schemes no longer are in play.
We've all got goals, plans, whether you've set goals and set out, like a plan to achieve them or not. But we're all like, some people's plan is, I'd like to own my own home one day. Some, like, whatever it is that you're looking to achieve. I want to go on that holiday. Oh God, I'd love to go to Europe maybe in a few years, or whatever it is that you want to do. We always just assume that we've got the time to do them. A couple more years, things will be, be in a better financial position. Some people might be to start a family, but they, we've all got busy, hectic lives now. So you think, well, I might wait, another 4 or 5 years, then we'll be in a better financial position, and then we'll start our family, or whatever it is. Yeah. Everyone's got a plan. Everyone's got schemes, things they want to do.
Yeah.
And we just all assume that we've got the time to do it.
Yeah.
And one day you just won't have time for your plans. Whether you die when you're fucking 80 or 18, it doesn't, regardless. There are plenty of people that I went to high school with that didn't make 20. Plenty of people that I associated with in the bike clubs, and people I know from jail and all that type of shit that didn't live past 25, 30, 40. Like, people die every day. People die, get hit by a car crash. One girl that I used to do martial arts as a kid, and she was 12 or 13 or 15 or something. She went to bed with a headache and never woke up. She had a brain aneurysm in the middle of the night. She was a young girl. Yeah. That young girl, I'm sure that she had plans and aspirations for her life. She probably wanted to grow up and have a family, maybe start a business. Who knows what she wanted to do. She never got a chance to do those things. Yeah. And she went to bed with a fucking headache. She was a healthy young girl. So we all take our time on earth as a given that we're going to make 80 or 100. We're going to see old age. Yeah. And fucking heaps of us don't, for whatever reason. And a lot of the people that I know that have lost their lives, like I've had friends murdered, executed. I've had friends commit suicide. So you don't have to live the type of life that I have to have your life cut short. There's plenty of people that that are good people that don't deserve to go, and they go just the same. As in the big picture, no one's life is any more valuable or any less valuable than anybody else. And when it's your time to go, you're fucking going whether you want to or not. So we all take it for granted because I don't want to contemplate, it's an uncomfortable thought to think if I knew that I've got 4 days left, I'd be thinking, fuck, this is going to be shit. Like, I don't want to get hit by that bus. Like, yes. I don't want that to happen. There's shit that I want to do. Yeah. Maybe I'll live to 80, maybe I don't. The point is no one fucking knows. But I've got plans now that the things that I want to do that are on the horizon, the things that, like within the next 5 years, say, for instance, but I might not get there. So I think, what can I do now? What can I be doing today? Like, if I want to be of benefit to people, I want to do, one of the main things I would love to do is to go into the kids' jails and talk to the kids and say, hey, I've fucking walked in your shoes. I've been where you are. Yeah. This is where it ends up, and it's an ugly path. Yeah. Like, I want to do that. There's no good me saying, oh, well, I'll do it in 7 or 8 years, because might not be around in 7 or 8 years to do it. So I want to do that soon. Like, I want to get these. When I decided to publish this book, the goal was get out of jail and fucking publish it. I didn't want to stuff about for 3 years and I'll get to it one day. I want to do it now. I wanted to sort it out because I might not. I could have died 3 weeks after I got out. Like, the last time I got out of jail, after 8 weeks, I got shot. And I very nearly could have fucking died. The first bullet hit me and it cut an artery in my arm and I was bleeding out. And if it wasn't for a copper, saved my life. I crashed into a pole because I lost a lot of blood and I was unconscious. So because I lost too much blood, I swerved, hit that pole at 100-something K, snapped it in half. It was only by dumb luck or fate or whatever you want to call it that there was a copper 30 seconds down the road. The call went out over the radio that there was shots fired in a residential area. That's all that went over the radio, I'm assuming. And then he come past attending the scene, not my accident. He was going to the scene. It just so happened that he passed an accident and has an obligation to stop. Wow. And I was bleeding out on the side of the road and he put pressure on my arm and saved my life. So
that's intense.
And not only that, the guy shot at me until the clip was empty. It's unlucky that one bullet hit me. The rest missed, luckily. Otherwise, I could have been dead in that scenario. People hit power poles at 100, 110, 120 k's, however fast I was going, and don't survive that. So, and if the copper was 2 minutes down the road, I would be dead. So there's all these factors within a 5-minute period of time where death experience, near-death experience, whatever it is. So after getting out of jail 8 weeks last time, I could have very nearly been dead. So when I got out this time, I thought, well, how do I know how long I've got when I get out this time? And will I be so lucky? Yeah. Not that I would put myself in that scenario, because I'm responsible for putting myself in that scenario. But you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea what's going to happen. So I've used that and as a motivating factor. I contemplate death regularly, less like you do. You said that something that you contemplate. It's a fucking great motivator, because I think, well, I feel like even if I were to live to 50 or 60 or 80, that my time's running out. I haven't got much time for fucking around. I've got to get shit done. Because that time, I'm approaching 40, and I feel like it was only a short period of time ago that I was just leaving high school.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. And I think because I spent so much time fucking around, like, what have I achieved in that time? Like, I would like to be in a position in my life at approaching 40 where you can say, I've done X, Y, Z, and I'm proud of all these achievements, and look at this long list of things that I've done, which is one of the things I've done when I was in jail. I thought, what have I achieved? I wrote a list, and I was struggling to come up with anything good. Like, I got my black belt when I was 11. I was super dedicated to that when I was a kid. I started martial arts at 5. I was competing in tournaments.
Wow.
I was competing at a high level. I was teaching adults when I was 10, 11, 12. I was good at what I'd done. And it was an achievement. And then I thought, well, what else did I do? All right, I completed my HSC. I didn't get the greatest fucking score, but I completed it.
Yeah.
I completed an apprenticeship. Like, I was on a good path of achieving things in my life. And then I thought, since then, what have I done?
Yeah.
What, fucking partied, fucked around, did a bit of traveling, spent time associating with fucking, a bike club, and then this time in jail. There's no achievement in any of that. I think, what have I done for the last 10 years? I've done fucking nothing. What a waste. And I'm approaching 40, and I've got nothing on my list for a long time. So contemplating my time running out, like, I look back at that time of wasted time, which is one commodity you never get back. You can't make more of it. From the moment you're born, that clock starts ticking, and you can never put more time on the clock.
Yeah.
So I think, well, I'm sure I'll get to 50 and it will feel like it's gone like that. And then 60 and 70, and then I think, fuck, there's going to be maybe there's some things I can't do now. I'm too old. I can't do those things. So it's a great motivating factor to contemplate your own death. I feel like I've got a fire under my ass. I've got to get shit done. So I think that's one of the main values in contemplating your time being up.
Thank you for sharing. I didn't even know about that story. I don't know if you put into details about you being shot in the book.
I mention it, but I don't go into too much detail about the offence itself and what happened. I reference it, but I didn't. That's not what I want in the book to be about. Yeah. There's 1,000 books out there about people talking about, like, it's tough as prisons and my crimes and this guy done that and this guy killed that guy. Like, I didn't want. That's not what this book is about. That's not going to benefit anybody. So I think that it's important to reference my experiences and, like, saying this was the offence and this is some of the aspects of the offence, but I didn't really want it to be about that type of stuff. So because I think it adds relevance, I guess, or it's a part of my redemption journey, and turning things around to say that this is what happened, because my criminal offending was fucking serious. I wasn't stealing handbags or breaking into houses. I was charged with 2 attempted murders for that offence where I was shot. I stabbed 2 people in their home. Yeah. So that's a serious offence. That's attempted murder. That carries in itself, that offence could carry, that's not what I ended up pleading guilty to. My charges were reduced, but that's a heavy duty crime and a heavy duty circumstance. Before that, I was charged with Harley's death. I was charged with manslaughter. Before that, I was charged with aggravated take detain. The accusation was that we kidnapped some guy, tied him up and tortured him for a couple of days and extorted him. So these crimes are heavy fucking duty, the kidnapping case, I don't talk about. I don't think I even reference that in the book. But I think it's important to touch on some of it, because it's for me to turn things around. It wasn't a small feat, I was at the extreme end of criminal offending. anything bike club related and that type of life is heavy duty life. It's not a walk in the park. So I think I think that touching on it is important, but I didn't want to emphasise it either.
Yeah. No, not
that I'm trying to shy away from the things that I've done. I don't try and make excuses. One of the things that I do is take full ownership and responsibility for the choices that I make. I just don't want to glorify it in any way, because there is nothing good in it. There is no glorification in it. It's a bad path. Even if you're looking to you're selling drugs, or you're going down the bike club path or the criminal path to make money, like any success you enjoy will be short-lived. So that's one of the things I really don't want to do, is put any sort of emphasis on the good aspects, or what is perceived as the good aspects of it, because there is no good aspects of it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I was just intrigued about the timing. You were saying how if that cop wasn't 30 seconds away, you wouldn't be here. Yeah. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, there's lots of things that could have gone differently about that one specific thing, but lots of things that could have gone differently in my life.
Yeah.
Little things that would I wouldn't be here now, or other people wouldn't be here now. And it's fate's wheel.
Yeah. One thing I actually highlighted was rather than take the tough option while they are still healthy and battle the addiction, they take the easy option and continue with it until they are forced to battle the addiction and cancer together.
And the issue. I think I can't remember exactly words, but what I'm saying is that so I think I referenced smoking there. I think I said earlier that's I use smoking as an example, I think, when I'm talking about that. So what I'm saying there is that
smokers that have developed cancer.
Yeah. So I know a few people that have developed cancer through smoking, and all of them quit when they get their cancer diagnosis. One bloke said, I had 8 smokes left or 4 smokes left in a packet. So coming back from the hospital, and he goes, I smoked them all on the way home, and it was the last day. He goes, I just want these 4 and I'm done. But they all quit. But they knew full well that at the time that smoking causes cancer, and it causes a lot of other problems. But it's this ignorant bliss thing. It won't be me. I'm not going to be the one that gets hit by the car. Yeah. I've got plenty of time.
Yes.
I'm not going to be the one that catches cancer. That's everybody else. Yeah. It's like this attitude that we have around death and stuff like that. Yeah. So I feel like I actually use I unfairly target smokers in my book, because I use it a few times in the book to say, like, let's use smoking as an example. Somebody that's a smoker will be thinking, this fucking prick.
I think because it's universal, everyone knows a smoker.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows someone that's got developed some kind of illness from it as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So anyway, what was the question again?
Well, the concept that I liked about it was that along the lines of choosing, and you mentioned riddled throughout the book about we shy away from the correct or the right path, even though it's the toughest and it seems like the hardest. We shy away from it because the easier path is obviously easier and more comfortable, so to speak, or we just stick to what we're sitting into that comfortability zone sort of thing. And you do mention it in other books, like essentially through adversity, the chapter of adversity, and also doubt, I'm pretty sure, just this concept of, and this is where the death part I feel comes in. It's like you either go that hard path and achieve what you really want to experience, or you just continue sitting in that comfortable path and continually going through hell.
The easy path will make your life hard.
Yeah.
The hard path will make your life easy.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. You want to choose the easy path, the lethargic path, the I'll do it later path. Yeah. You are going to pay the consequences for your apathy or your laziness, and it's going to make your life hard at the end of the day, and you're going to think, fuck, I haven't chosen the easy path. After all, I've chosen the fucking hard path. As the person that chooses the hard path that ends up realizing that it was the easy path. It makes it
easier for...
Well, what you end up with is the easy path.
Yeah. And I think it comes with the lines of, like, you either die with regrets or die with blessings, you could say, through experience, through trials, and just saying, like, you know what, I'm glad I tried that. Gratitude, really.
It's like getting up every morning and going for a run, or going to a CrossFit session, or doing whatever it is. It's fucking hard. I don't want to get up a bit. I get up and go to work. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to fucking get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I go to work. Yeah. I'm grateful for having a good job, a good paying job, and I'm grateful for the fact that I get to provide for my family.
100%. Yeah.
I get to pay the mortgage. I pay the bills, put food on the table. I'm able to provide a good life for the kids, for myself, for my partner.
Yeah.
but it's fucking not easy. It would be easier for me to stay in bed and be on the fucking dole, but I would have the results of that would be a fucking hard life. I wouldn't be able to provide what I provide for my family. I wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage or pay the bills, and I'd be providing a shit life. So you can apply it to work, you can apply it to exercise, you can apply it to endeavours, goals, or instead of chasing goals, sitting on the lounge and watching TV. It's easier to sit down and watch TV than get after something and suffer the setbacks.
100%.
But once you fucking suffer the setbacks and you get up and go again and again in business or with exercise or whatever it is, you are going to get to a point where your life is good now. It's easy now and you are better off for it. So the hard path or the hard option leads to an easy life or the easy path.
Yeah. 100%. With that, let's go to the adversity chapter because I actually want to hear you read that poem.
Yeah. I think this is my favourite chapter and probably one of my favourite poems because everything that I've gained or the philosophies that I've come up with and the things that I write in the book is off the back of hardship and adversity. I feel like, and I say it, it's at the start of not the poem but this chapter. Says, out of all the poems I've written, I believe this one has the greatest potential to have a positive impact if the message can be understood. And I really believe that. And I think
can you read the next sentence?
The next sentence is, understanding the role adversity plays in our lives and the power in learning how to effectively use it by viewing it in another light is exponential.
I think that.
And it is exponential. You can gain so much from, everybody's been through something tough. You might have been bullied at school. You might have had a relationship breakdown. Adversity comes in 1,000 forms. So when we talk about adversity, it's just hardships. It's going through something tough, something that doesn't make you feel good. So anybody can relate to adversity. Nobody's had a smooth sail through life. Even somebody that's had all the very best education, grow up in a wealthy family, have had every opportunity in life. They're still going to have tough times. They're still going to go through a relationship breakdown. Maybe they lose their money. Maybe they've had a broken leg. I don't know. But whatever it is, that's adversity. That's hardship. And there is lessons in it. But it is how you view it. And it's a mindset. And it's what you have to view. You have to be in a positive mindset or develop a positive mindset to view adversity as something that you can gain from.
Correct.
So I might fall down the stairs, today and break my leg, and I can take a negative view of it. And from a negative perspective, be like, I didn't fucking deserve that. Like, fuck, I can't go to work now. I didn't deserve this. Or just when I think things were going good. And obviously, you're not going to be happy about falling over and breaking your fucking leg. Nobody is. But I think, well, what can I gain out of this? I've now got 6 weeks off work. I'm at home with my family. I can really enjoy some good family time. I'm writing a second book, which I touched on before, which is very hard to do given how my work hours. Like I said, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm out of the house by 5, and sometimes I'm not home till 7 or 8 at night.
And then you got to take care of the kids or attend to the family.
Sometimes I'll try and get to the gym, like 3 or 4 days a week, which is tough. My son is 13 from my previous relationship. I try and spend as much time with him as I can. So I've got to, I go to football, he plays touch, football training, or just spend time with him. So there's lots of things that I have to do that come first and are more important than writing a fucking book, you know what I mean? And just like we said before, we touched on, like in the previous chapter about death, your numbers up. They're the type of things that you put back because you're thinking, I'm time poor, I don't have the time for it. But one day you're going to be out of time, and now that book doesn't get written. So you got to try and fucking find time. But so the positive that I would take out of falling over and breaking my leg, that I would have time for those things that I don't otherwise have time for. Now I'm viewing a adverse set of conditions in a positive light, and I'm gaining something out of it. I'm not going to feel good about it. And something that I say in the book, because some people find this concept very hard to wrap their head around. It's a bit of resistance to saying there is good things. You can take good out of bad things happen. The event itself is not good.
Correct, yes.
No, one of the things I say is like, getting punched in the face is not much fun. There's nothing good about getting punched in the face. You know what I mean? So no one's going to say, they go, oh, that's great. I've really gained from that.
I really just want to get punched in the face now because there's benefits from it.
Yeah, that's right. But there might be something you can gain from it. Maybe you were your attitude wasn't good. You gave someone a bit of lip and you thought, oh, fuck, I probably treated that person pretty poorly. And you might gain some perspective from that event.
Yeah.
So, so I've lost my track of thought. So anyway, one of the things that people struggle with is or some people struggle with is the concept of, like what can I gain out of, crashing my car or receiving an injury of some kind. But there is always something that you can gain from it, but it's how you view it. It's your state of mind, it's viewing it through another lens, because when something bad happens, it's easy just to go, this is not fair. Like, I didn't deserve that. Like, one of the examples I use in that chapter is a car crash. And maybe it's a car crash that you're not at fault for. Somebody might T-bone you, and it's not your fault.
Hello, preach it. You know what that story?
Well, I don't know, but I'm assuming you can relate to it. But and I think it would be natural to be like, I didn't deserve that. Why me? Like, I'm a good person, and it's probably a natural way to look at things initially. Like, like you feel hard done by, but you're not going to gain anything from it from that point of view. So, learning to view adversity through a positive lens is a skill, and it's probably going to take work, but you can look back at past adversity, because like I said, we've all experienced it, and think, well, I might have dealt with it in a negative way in the moment or at the time or back then, but looking back on it, what can I take from it? So it's not like you have to wait for the next fucking terrible thing to happen for you to take something out of it. You've all been through something shit. Like, it might be a relationship breakdown, say for instance, and you might go, well, I was pretty bad in that, like I was lying all the time, or I was cheating, or I was abusive in some way, I wasn't very attentive to my partner. Yeah, well, okay, I've been bad-mouthing that person, saying that they done this, and I was focusing on the things that they done in the relationship. But maybe if I look back at it, I can recognise, there was a few things that I wasn't doing that contributed, in a big way to that not working out. Yeah. And then when you get into your next relationship, you've considered those things. You thought, I'm going to make a genuine effort to listen more, to be home more, not be at the pub, or whatever the problems were. So you can look back at adversity and look at it with fresh eyes now. It might have been 10 years ago, but but you can, once you make that switch, that positive mindset, and look at it from that view, then you can go, there's gold in that. And I feel like sometimes the bigger the issue and the harder the adversity, the more there is to gain from it.
100% lesson definitely to be learned, big and small, even in one situation. Man, I just laughed at the T-bone because I was T-boned. I had a Nissan 370. See. And this young red P-plater pulled out and hit my car, and the car was written off, and I was so devastated. But in a sense, I was appreciative that it was happening through a change in my life, where I needed to get out of the living situation that I was in. And it was God, like I say, it's a God thing, because it's like God was just like, throughout every single situation, big change in my life, I don't leave situations. It's sort of like God creates situations where I am then forced to make a decision, if that makes sense. So that T-bone riding off my car was the opportunity to go, okay, I now know this is the message that I've got to make changes, sort of thing, if that makes sense.
One of the things I say in this chapter is life will teach us the lessons that we need to learn when we need to learn it, and it's up to us to pay attention to it. And if we don't pay attention to it, it's going to keep on punishing you.
Exactly.
It's what it is. It punishes you. You were being punished because, like, you needed to make a course adjustment and you weren't making it, and here, have a fucking P-plater T-bone and wake up to yourself.
Literally.
What it did, that adversity provided you the opportunity.
Yes.
And you could have chose to ignore that opportunity, or the signs, or whatever you want to call it. You say God, somebody else might say the universe, I might say life, whatever it is.
Or karma,
whatever it is. We all got different words, and we all resonate with different things or belief sets or whatever, but it's all pointing towards the same thing, that you were sent by life or God or whatever it was, the opportunity, but you didn't have to take it. It was up to you, and you did take it, and then you're better for the experience. That is a perfect example of taking adversity, a negative situation, and gaining what you can and turning it on its head.
Yeah, exactly. Can you read the poem for us?
I can.
I'm excited. Because it's a good poem.
I like this one. Adversity. When times are good, all seems to have fallen in place. We don't gaze inward. There is no need to assess time and space. It is easy to falsely believe that calm seas will prevail the trip. This is usually when fierce winds pick up, causing our sails to rip. Adversity we must suffer. It is through pain that we grow tough. None can avoid it, for life teaches us her lessons thus. We all must endure our own trials, battles and tribulations, emerging the other side with thicker armour and extra insulation. Adversity hardens the will the way the hammer and fire temper steel. There is no greater method to prepare for life's next ride downhill. So tackle troubles head on, embracing the process to come. This golden life opportunity, gain wisdom, grow strong, beating your battle drum.
I'm actually disappointed that I didn't highlight the first verse in this one, because it just hit me then when you were speaking it. when times are good, all seems to have fallen in place. We don't gaze inward, and that's so true. When things are going good, we don't think to, wait, why are things going good right now? What am I actually paying attention to, or what am I doing, sort of thing. There is no need to assess time and space, and that's how we feel is like that. We don't feel like we need to reflect or review.
No, because things are going good.
Yeah.
Why would you? You're just thinking, yeah, fuck yeah, this is how life should be, you know, like paying dividends, you know. But it's not. Yeah, and you use your T-bone situation again. You're just cruising along. Like maybe things weren't great in your life, but maybe you weren't aware of or tuned into what was going on.
Yeah.
And it's when something goes bad. You said your living situation wasn't good. They provided you the opportunity to think about it and think, fuck, I need to change this. And that's when you gazed inward and you looked at yourself and you contemplated things that you weren't contemplating previously.
Yeah.
And it's one of the greatest values in adversity. It gives you the opportunity. And you'll hear me, you've read the book, you know that I put a lot of emphasis on, like, it's how you view things. It's up to you. There's an opportunity, but it's a choice. And that's another thing I say. Like, you can choose to make a course correction at any time you want. You don't have to wait for adversity, but it's usually what it takes. And that was true for me, with the things that I was doing, the way that I was living my life and the choices that I was making. And it was through, getting shot, almost dying, going back to jail, facing a lengthy prison sentence again after having just got out, that I thought, I'm not doing this. And it was my opportunity and the choice that I had to make in that moment. Like I said, I made a choice. I'm not fucking living like this anymore. I'm going to be a better man. I'm going to sort out my problems. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to fucking do it. So in that moment, I made a choice. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be jolted awake, but that's essentially what I believe is happening. It's like a punch in the guts, like wake up to yourself. So you can avoid hardship. You can't avoid hardship, but you can avoid things getting to that severe point where it's a tipping point before you have to. You can choose right now. I use things like weight loss. I want to get fitter. I want to lose a few kilos. You can start that now. Like, how many times do people say, I'm going to start my diet on Monday? Or New Year's resolution, I'm going to start. Why the fuck are you waiting for New Year? It's just a day. It's a date on a calendar that someone made up. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. All the rest of it is shit that fucking people have made up themselves. Someone decided I'm going to make a calendar. Whoever it was, the Mayans or whoever they are. That's arbitrary bullshit. Like, you can do it right now. There's no reason you can't. So you can make a choice, but maybe you don't lose those 5 kilos and over a year and 2 and 5, you gain 30 and now you've got health problems. Whereas then that might be what forces you. That's your adversity. You've got problems with your knees now. You've got a bad liver. You've got, whatever. You've got a heart problem now. And then you're forced to go, well, I've got to lose some weight, and then you've got to start now. Like, you could have made the choice before things got really bad
100%.
A long fucking time ago. Don't wait till the new year. Don't wait till things get bad. Don't wait till the punch in the guts. Go fucking do it now.
100%.
And so that's a message that anyone who reads it will see. There's a choice. And I even talk about things like being depressed, because I went through depression, being in jail and, like everything that happened with Harley, and I dealt with it in the wrong way. Like, I decided to take drugs so I didn't have to deal with it afterwards, which was a choice that I made, and it was the wrong choice that I made. But I had to make a choice at some point to cut that away, and I chose, I'm not going to be a miserable fucking prick anymore. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to bury my problems under a drug habit. I'm going to pull myself out of this shit, and I'm going to get on with making my life, better and improving myself and all that type of shit. Which, that was the previous time before I, came back in, and I didn't make a very good go of it, to be fair, to be honest. But it was a choice that I made at the time. I'm not going to be depressed. I'm going to, you may not feel good, but you can. It's hard with issues like this because somebody's going through something like depression. It's very hard for them to hear, like, that's a choice you're making. They're like, no, it's fucking not. I wake up every morning feeling like shit. I'm not choosing to feel like this. So some of the things that I talk about, and I say at the start of this book that one of the points that I really wanted to emphasize is I don't have a tertiary qualification. So somebody might greatly disagree with what I'm saying. These are my opinions, but it's such shit that I've learnt for myself and I've been through. So I'm talk from experience. But you can make a choice to, I'm I'm going to be a miserable sack of shit today. I'm going to get up. I might not feel great, but I'm going to go do something positive. I'm going to get up. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to go fucking reach out to a psychologist. I'm going to do something about this. That's a choice that you can make. So you might make that choice and be on the way and on the path to getting out of the depression or however you're feeling. Doesn't mean you're going to feel good in the moment. You might still feel like shit for quite some fucking time, but you make the fucking choice whether you're going to stay in it or not. Yeah. So I know that people will disagree with what I have to say, and that's fair enough. Everyone's got an opinion. There might be people that are much better qualified than me that will disagree with what I say, but I stand by what I say because I know it to be true for myself. It works for me, and I know that it will work for other people. But maybe it doesn't work for everybody, but you can make a choice. And it doesn't have to be something with depression. It could be the way you're living your life, you're using drugs, you're in a bad relationship, whatever the choice. You've got a choice every moment of every day to change something for the better. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go through one last poem.
Yep.
I think the one that I wanted to... I think prison politics I actually highlighted a lot because I was oblivious to everything. And but we won't do that one because what's this one that I've got? Nope.
That's one of those things that is like an aspect of prison, like you earlier you touched on, coming in and it was a bit of an insight. But something like prison politics is one of those things that people will read and be like, I had no idea about this. You know what I mean? And like I said, I don't want the book to be about just jail or crime because that's not what the book's about. But I think it's something that people find interesting to know. I wanted there to also be that aspect of people be like, oh, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. I wouldn't have thought that went on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
One thing I actually, I can't say the word recidivism.
Recidivism, yep.
Recidivism.
That's it.
Because you're passionate about this. This is one thing that I find that you, even on the last podcast that I listened to with Russell, you were saying there is no proper, in a sense, rehabilitation programs or process going on. First, I'll get you to read the poem.
On which subject, sorry?
Recidivism.
I just wanted to make you say it.
And then we'll go from there.
Recidivism. The same faces again. I've seen you here many times before. What happened this time? The same old problems landing me in prison once more. For some familiar faces, prison is just a second home. It's just a part of life. In and out is all they have ever known. Although I too have reoffended, I can't understand this state of mind. I could never accept this horrible place as any home of mine. It really makes me wonder what kind of life they have outside. How shit things must be to be comfortable with constantly coming back inside. It's easy to take the view to make prisoners' life hard while in jail. Punish, 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 but in solving crime, it's to no avail. There is no rehabilitation to be found inside of jail walls. So when someone reoffends, their next victim might just be you or yours. The system is a failure. Have you noticed any fall in crime? Hundreds of years punishing, still the same people return time after time. It's time for something new. Let's think outside the box. Let's get crazy and actually try to solve this problem because everyone running the system is too fucking lazy. I stumbled through that.
Well, I was actually laughing to myself because the way you spelt jail.
Yeah, that's actually the correct Australian spelling of jail.
Apparently, I found that after. So
everyone's like, in goal? Inside of goal walls, the A and the O is switched.
I read this book halfway through before someone actually pointed out to me that it was supposed to be pronounced jail. So I'm reading it as... to make prisoners' life hard while in gaol.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? The chapter jail fit, I spell it Jail.
Yes.
And I would hope that would have pointed towards it. People are like, jail, but I'll probably confuse the situation. But it is the correct. I did contemplate making it jail, the American version, but it's not. That is the correct spelling of it. So people might think this guy's semi-illiterate, can't even talk.
Well, that's it. I was so confused. I've only known jail to be spelled Jail, not Ga. And then it was really funny because one of my other friends was reading a book as well on Ivan Milat, and it had also Gaol, and we're just like, we just thought, maybe it's just another term for jail. So maybe it is gaol. I'm like, gaol, yeah. And then we then Google it and, has the pronunciation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like a total idiot.
Look, maybe I should have used the American way of doing it. Just to not, because I don't want to complicate things. I don't want to detract from it. But look,
no, this is just my dumbassery. The people that are going to read this are probably going to be like, oh yeah, they're probably educated people in this topic and know that it's going to be pronounced.
Well,
jail.
look, maybe somebody who listens to your podcast has just learned something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've been educated today.
Anyway, but yeah, I just laughed every time I was like every time I see that.
Well, now you know.
Yeah, exactly. Now I know.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Being educated through the book. So yeah, this, like I said, this is a topic that you are strongly about, and as you say at the end of this book, like, let's think outside the box, let's get crazy, because you say in the book as well, like, corrective
services,
and it's not.
No, well, it's so named corrective services because it's supposed to correct behavior. And it doesn't. It makes people worse. Like, I'm sure anybody, like people like yourself, would have heard people say or would be aware that people go into jail and get out worse. Like, I'm sure that you've heard people say that. Like,
yeah.
And that's true. That is true. So my view on this is that regardless of what people think should happen or how because there is people that just feel like, yeah, you've committed your crime, you deserve to be punished, it should be fucking hard. And it is hard, but you're missing a very important piece of that puzzle. And there is value in being punished for your crime. There has to be a deterrent, and there has to be a reason to make people stop offending and to send the message to the next person who might be considering committing an offence to go, oh, fuck, I don't want to go to jail. It's pretty tough. So, of course, there's value in that. I'm not arguing the point of there being value in that, but a lot of people that end up in prison a lot of people end up in prison. Not everyone's a fucking career criminal. Not everyone's a terrible person. Not everyone's a murderer or a rapist. Apart from rapists, which I fucking despise, sex offenders, they're scum of the earth, and there is no rehabilitation for those people. You cannot rehabilitate a fucking pedophile. You might, look, maybe there's an argument to be made that you could rehabilitate somebody who rapes a woman or something like that, but I think it's a fucking heinous crime. But somebody who's sexually attracted to children, you cannot fix that person. So that aside, there is no rehabilitation for them. That should be a crime that is solely and wholly looked at as punishment, as being the only factor that needs to be considered, because you are never going to stop them being attracted to children. So, but that aside, not everybody that goes to prison are terrible people. A lot of people are traumatized people. A lot of people are people with underlying issues. Correct. And that's what should be at the core of the corrective system. What are the issues that are causing your offending? I've never tried to garner any sort of sympathy for myself or other people who commit crime. I don't think that would not be received well, and that's not my point of view anyway. But my point of view is that if somebody's robbed a convenience store, say for instance, they robbed a service station. Right, so armed robbery is a serious offence, and you're probably going to get somewhere between 3 and 8 years, say for instance, for your crime. It's a long time to serve in prison. Yeah. It is a serious offence. Yeah. But why did that person rob the liquor store or the convenience store? What was their motivating factor behind it? And I would say that in a lot of circumstances, it's because it's probably trying to support a drug habit. Why is a person using drugs in the first place? Some people start off using recreational drugs and just develop a drug habit and they go down a bad path, but a lot of people that use drugs regularly are running away from something and trying to mask, trying to self-medicate. That is very, very common. Yeah. So if that is the case, then that person goes to prison for the armed robbery. There is no avenue or no effort made, and there's no system in place to address that person's criminal offending or the core issues at the center of their criminal offending. You could prevent that person from when they get out, from committing the same offence or a more serious offence, because anybody that studies any type of criminology will know that most criminal offending follows an escalating pattern. So somebody that goes to prison and they're get stuck in that cycle of recidivism, of repeat offending, are likely to either commit the same offences or more serious offences down the track. So if you don't address that issue, that's going to cause a lot more problems to the community if you only look at it from a community perspective and not the person perspective. Because like I said, a lot of people will say the criminal does not deserve a fucking second chance. That's somebody's view and they're entitled to it. But it's a very narrow view. But you understand people being, well, fuck them. Look what they do. Look at the problems that they cause in the community. People are scared in their homes and all that type of stuff. So I understand it. But the fact is that it is a narrow view, because that person will then get out and continue offending, and it's likely that it will follow an escalating pattern, and then there's going to be more destruction and more suffering and bigger consequences down the line. So if somebody comes to jail, why not use the system, or the system be structured in a way that it is corrective? That it's serving a fucking purpose. It's serving the community by solving that person's problems. It's going to have by helping that person, you're going to help, the flow-on effect will be to help the community. By benefiting that person as a flow-on effect, you're benefiting the community. So, and the reason that doesn't occur, it boils down to, is that the prison systems are a business and they make money, and nobody wants to address those issues because you would be affecting the bottom line. So when your home gets broken into, because I think that when I write in the poem, recidivism, I say the next, where's the chat? It said their next victim might just be you or yours. And that's true. Like, it might, if that person that robbed that convenience store, maybe, or they break into a home, maybe you're the person that works in that store, or you're the person that works in that bank, or it's your home that gets broken into because they're trying to get your car keys and your jewelry. So if your view is fuck them, put them in prison, don't give them, the time in there is too easy, like, you are fucking traumatizing a person, because it is. Like, I've spent months on end in segregation and it fucking sends you mad. That did not help me at all. So people do get worse in jail. Jail is violent. There's a lot of drugs in jail. I developed a drug habit in jail because drugs were readily available to me in jail. So to add to that, the stress of the process itself, like, just because you are responsible for your crime and you put yourself in that position, it doesn't make it it's a stressful process to go through, being arrested, losing all your shit. Some people lose their homes, your family, your missus leaves you, you don't see the kids anymore. It's a hard time in your life. Add to that, a violent culture in jail, a drug culture in jail. And that can go on for years. Some people's sentences, like I served 7.5 years jail. It's a long time. So people are exposed to a really toxic, bad environment where there's no help for a period of time, and people get out worse. And that's the recidivism problem. So, and when I was speaking to Russell on the podcast, the most recent podcast that I've done, on the Stick Up podcast, he said that he is in touch with senior corrective officials, and they say that the money's there. The funding is there. One of the things that I say in that recidivism chapter is to say that anybody who proposes these changes and puts forward the amount of money that it's going to cost to solve the problem are going to be unpopular. No politician wants to get up and say, listen, we need to solve this problem. It's going to cost X amount of dollars, which is, more than we're currently investing. And people are going to say, well, wait a minute, that's hundreds of millions of dollars or however much it might be for fucking criminals. No fucking way. We got hospitals that need, that need improving. We've got roads that need, our schools are shit. What about air conditioners for the kids? And that's fair enough. Those things do need to be addressed. Of course they do. But it's the reason why you've ever heard a politician get up in Parliament and say, I would propose that we spend $200 million on fucking resolving the recidivism issue. That'd be abused. That'd be laughed at. But it's not going to be popular. But I didn't know. But the money apparently is there, and they don't want to spend it. That's the thing. I thought that blew my mind. I was under the assumption, and I think we were speaking about off air. I said that that it's an unpopular issue. Like it's an unpopular topic, and nobody gives a fuck about the criminal. Like, that's not a popular thing. But and when I was in jail, there was no research. Like, I couldn't jump on a computer and research how much money is spent, or like, what is the policy on this and that. Like, it's just my view. So my view was that the money's not there and it needs to be there, but apparently the money is there for it, but they don't want to. So the next question is, why the fuck don't you want to? Well, I would love to sit down with the Minister for Corrections. I'd love to sit down with senior senior corrections officials and say, okay, apparently the money is there, and if it is, why aren't you using it? Why don't you want to fucking solve this problem? Why don't you want to pay for psychologists in prison to address the core reasons that people offend, like the core issues? Like, when somebody comes to the prison, like, that's a fucking wake-up call for a lot of people. It's a fucking tough process to go through. People are scared, worried, stressed. They're fucking, like I just mentioned, people lose all their shit. Like, they're at a vulnerable point. And just like I got to, plenty of people would think, no, I want to change my life. I can't do this. Where's the help? I'm going to speak to somebody. And you get told, no, there's nobody for you to speak to. But I want to make positive changes. We'll fucking make them. I don't know how to. Fucking figure it out. That's their general attitude. Like, what if somebody that's in that position that you're in, I think that the way that corrective should look at it is that you've got somebody that's in that position. What better place to have a person who's committed an offence, maybe they've committed multiple offences, and they come to you as the correction staff and say, I want to fucking change. And they go, well, what they should have is go, well, we've got a few options for you. There's a system in place for you. You know, we've got psychologists you can speak to. It's probably a good start. There's some, if you're in for, holding up that store and, it was drug related, you were doing it for drug, maybe you might want to enroll in one of our drug and alcohol courses, which are available. There's one starting next Tuesday. Would you like to participate in that? Yep, great. I can solve my drug problem. I can speak to a psychologist. But it takes funding, which apparently is there, like I said, but they don't want to use it. So why don't they want to use it? Because they all make money. If you stopped recidivists, say you solve that problem to a level where you are reducing the numbers of people that come back to jail by, say, just 10 or 15%. That's the prison population in New South Wales usually sits around 12,000. So if you got my maths is on fucking show. So if you got about, say, 1,200 or fucking to 2,000 or 1,800 people now that are not coming back, that's less jobs that are available for prison staff. That's less jobs that are available. Like, that's a big number of that are people that are not coming back now. And most of the people that go to prison do come back. But that's because of the recidivism issue not being solved, obviously. So with the figures at the time of writing the book, I honestly don't know what they are now, but you would assume that they would be pretty close. They always sit around the same. Is 57% of people come back to prison within 2 years or some kind of corrective service, because there's like good behaviour bonds are done. They call it something else now. It's called like a CCO, community corrections orders and stuff like that. It's the same thing. People, they might reoffend, but it might be at the minor end of offending, so they come into corrections, contact again, but it's through one of those avenues. So that's a big number of people. Almost 6 out of 10 people come back within just 2 years. Some people do all right for 4 years and they come back. So that's that close to 6 out of 10 figure is just within 2 years.
Yeah.
So the reason that they don't spend that money is because they don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to help people. They want people to stay the way they are. They know that the prison system produces worse criminals than what they come in. Some people go in for minor shit. Guys get in there that they have a pub fight. They're 18 years old. They've had a gut full of piss. They get in a fight. They break someone's jaw. That's a serious offence, because if you break somebody's jaw, that's grievous bodily harm. You've broken a bone. You can get 5 years for that. Wow. Somebody who's not a criminal, that is somebody's view might be, no, they broke someone's jaw, they are a criminal, but they're not a fucking criminal. They're just a fucking young bloke on the piss that's fucking got into a fight. That happens all the fucking time. So that guy now goes into jail and his life's fucking, in turmoil. And there's guys there who are fucking in gangs, in bike clubs, that fucking import drugs, that are fucking, career criminals that will take that guy under their wing. And now that guy becomes a fucking criminal, or he starts using drugs. That guy, the 18-year-old that's had the pub fight, gets out at age 23. He's got a PhD in crime now. He's been influenced by the wrong crowd. Somebody who's 18-year-old, you might be an adult at 18 years old, but you're fucking still a young person who is influential, and that happens a lot. People go in and they get fucking worse. You'll turn someone who's a normal person into a fucking criminal, and then the recidivism cycle starts for that person. That person's going to be back. They're in a gang now. They're in a bike club. They've got connections with drug importations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you've turned someone who's a normal person into a fucking serious criminal. That's what the system produces.
How does this is one thing that baffles me, is like, how do the drugs get into jail? I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Well, if I go into too much detail, people will be very upset. You fucking just giving our secrets away. Look, there's drugs coming. prison officers are very aware of drugs come into jail, and often it is prison officers who bring the drugs in.
Okay.
Like if you Google how many prison officers have been arrested, well, I was at MRRC and...
but what did they get out of it?
Money. So if you're a prison officer, I could approach you and just say, look, I want you to do something for us, and there's $5,000 in it for you. Because drugs are fucking expensive in jail.
Sorry. The prison officer will go up to a criminal.
No, well, I could
or
approach...
is it the other way?
No, well, it'd usually be the inmate who would have approached the guard. But, you can... It's a risky move because they can turn around and go, fuck, mate, you're going straight to Segro. You want to bring drugs into the jail? And so usually... There's like a process of sort of grooming by the inmate.
Okay.
But you spend a lot of time with prison officers, so you get to know who's who.
It makes them click to a degree.
Yeah, and look, what do they earn a week? They might earn fucking after tax. They might earn $1,500 a week, $1,200 a week. I don't know. It'd be something like that. And you say, I'll give you $5,000 if you bring this in. And to some of them, that's a fucking fuck yeah, $5,000 cash. Yeah, just give us a bank account. I'll be in there tomorrow.
That's insane.
So then you just say, like, all right, I'll have someone drop X, Y, off to wherever you want. It could be at your house or at the shops or whatever, and then you just bring it in, and they bring it in. But that's one avenue. There's lots of avenues, lots of ways things come in. Wow. But just know that their drugs are very readily available in jail.
That's insane.
Yeah, like I said, the corrective services officers, or screws as I'd like to call them. We call them screws. I don't like being called screws, but you're fucking screws. They don't care. Like, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about whether they want you to come back to jail. They're not... Anybody, it doesn't matter. There's corrupt cops out there. There's fucking corrupt politicians out there. There's corrupt prison officers. There is good and bad in everything. I'm not against fucking anybody. I'm not against police. I'm not against fucking prison officers or whatever. I've had bad experiences with prison officers, of course. There's heaps of them. Some of them fucking treat you like absolute fucking shit. But none of it goes towards helping you. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, that's one of the way they come in. But they genuinely don't give a fuck about you. And if they can make a few extra dollars in that sense, they do. So that's how they get in there. And that's a contributing factor to what makes people worse. Some people develop drug habits in jail that never had a drug habit before because, like I said, it's a stressful process. It's a fucking hard time in your life, and some people don't deal with it. And I was one of them. I had once Harley died and I came in, I was depressed, I was traumatized, and I didn't want to deal with it. So I started using drugs. Not that I had never used drugs. I'd fucking partied and got on the coke, and I had used Xanax before, but I've never been addicted to drugs. I was never a drug addict. Yeah. When I was that year in jail that I was using drugs, I was a fucking drug addict because I used drugs every single fucking day, and I was using drugs to self-medicate, and because I was like I said, I was fucking traumatized. So it doesn't help anybody, they're taking drugs in there, but also what doesn't help is being treated like shit, and what also doesn't help is there being no system to catch you in the fall, because you are falling. You're falling into the abyss. That's what it feels like. Yeah. And when you're in that state, like if you're seeking help and there is none, that can be that can make you even worse again. You're like, I want help, but there's none. So you just get you just fall further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's insane.
So that's why I wanted... Recidivism, like you said, is one of those issues that I've got strong views on. And obviously not everyone's going to agree with me on them, but I know that by addressing that problem, you're going to solve a lot more problems down the track. Yeah. It is worth doing. It is worth looking into. And it's something that I'd like to advocate for. And if I can make some noise, and if I can influence people, or even just change people's mind. Because like I said, some people will say, fuck them, they're criminals. They don't deserve a second chance. They should be punished in there. But if I can lay out a reasonable argument that makes sense to people and can sway opinion, then maybe things can change. And that would be, I know that that's going to be of greater benefit to everybody. It's going to be the individual and the community and everyone.
100%. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I probably spoke for way too long on that. You're thinking, when's this guy going to shut the fuck up?
No, I was just like going, oh no, he's on a roll. Like,
I'm on a rant.
This is where his passion is. Like, and that's
I'm just getting started. Wait.
That's what I appreciate, is just like that you have now this, and it talking about purpose. Whoops. Hopefully that didn't destroy it. The quote you actually put on, you can read it on this chapter. Yeah,
The Purpose of Life is a Life of Purpose by Robert Byrne. I was talking to you before and I said I love quotes, and I feel like quotes really there's like these little packets of knowledge and wisdom, and sometimes it can be the quote that really resonates with people, and that's why I put a quote at the end of every chapter, because I might say something in a chapter that means nothing to somebody, but maybe it's the quote that grabs them and grabs their attention. When I sign the books, I always write a personal message to someone, and I usually write a quote, and I use that one quite a lot, because I really believe that having purpose in your life, regardless what that purpose is, it sets you on a path. And like, I was living a certain way for a long time and I had no purpose, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking for purpose. So there was nothing, just didn't feel like I'm contributing. I'm not living the way I should. There's something missing. I'm not happy. And what is it? I have no fucking purpose. You know what I mean? And so now I feel like I have a purpose with this shit. And you just said before that, I am passionate about it. And I speak with enthusiasm, and sometimes I really talk people's ears off. And they're just like, wow, I take a breath, champion. But I feel that's my purpose, and I feel good about it. And like I said, I want to go into the kids' jails. I want to go talk to people. I want to be of benefit to people. And that is my purpose. I love that quote. That's a great fucking quote, because having no purpose in your life, I've been there and I know where that leads, and where it led for me anyway. And I think that is a common thread for a lot of people that are not feeling great within themselves, or feeling like they're lost and choose a bad path, or they're depressed, or there's just not, whatever it may be, that I think lacking purpose in your life can cause a lot of issues.
Thank you for being passionate about this.
You're welcome.
Because people like me, like, we have an audience that we can reach, our own audience in a sense. But you now have the expertise and the purpose, the message, and the drive to reach that audience that's in similar situations, like you said, going out to younger criminal or the juvies or wherever. Again, I don't even know these terminologies.
Juvies, juvenile justice center.
Yeah. You can go out and catch them young and have an actual impact on them, because they're like, actually, I relate to this guy. They can never relate to me. Being brought up in a Christian household, never done, in a sense, excessive crime, to be put into a juvie or jail. You have this, in a sense, superpower to actually affect them and go, listen, guys, from today, you can choose which direction your life can go, sort of thing. And that's what I'm appreciative and grateful for, that you've chosen that, in a sense, king path, as that I always preach. You've chosen that path that is, you're no longer living for yourself. You're living for, like you said, for Harley. And you're living for now the future generations that are going and that are currently in the system now with that.
Yeah, well, I think that whether it's kids in jail, whether it's any situation like what you do with Talk to Me Bro, say for instance, you have to be able to relate to people. Like, you can say whatever you like, but you got to connect with people. They have to relate to you, what you're saying. And I think in that scenario, we say kids in jail, or take jail out of this situation. That's why I love the poem we went over adversity, obviously. I've been through hardship, and anybody can relate to going through hardship. My hardship might be different to your hardship, but it's still fucking adversity, still hard, it's still a tough time in your life. So I think that is a great connecting point. That's like, I can connect with them and they can resonate with it, because everybody's been through fucking something.
Yeah.
But in this specific circumstance of talking about kids in jail and my path, they can relate to me because I can say, I was you. I'm not telling you something that I've learnt in a book. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not somebody who's heard a story secondhand. I was you. And, so that's the path that I took. And the choices that you have the choices that you have now and the options you have at your disposal are the same ones that I had, but I didn't choose them. I turned left every time I should have fucking turned right. Every time I had an opportunity to make the right choice, I made the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And look where it led.
Yeah.
It was a clear path that I was setting out for myself. I didn't know it at the time, but it was leading to one fucking place.
Yeah.
That's where you are. But you are 20 years back down the path. And there's plenty of opportunity. You're going to have to make the choice. But if you're going to make it, why not make it now? And you should make it now, because in the kids' jails, people, like I just said a minute ago, that the screws don't give a fuck about you. But in the juvies, people do care because you're a kid. There are people there that want to help you. There is a whole support network in the kids' jails that is not in the adult system.
Wow.
And there's a lot of funding towards the kids. There's actually is a genuine effort, but you're dealing with people who are essentially immature, that are not so receptive to the message. So you have to find ways to cut through to them. And you have to, one of the ways that I think is an effective way to cut through to them is for them to recognize themselves in you. I was you. I've walked the hard paths. I've been in your shoes. I've worn those shoes and I've fucking worn them out. You know what I mean? So I've been through the shit that you've been through. I was a young guy, got harassed by police. I come from my parents separated. I didn't have a bad childhood, but I come from a broken home. I grew up out Western Sydney. It was very fucking rough. It was violent. I felt like I didn't have the same opportunities that other people do, which is not the case because some extremely successful people come out of Western Sydney, but that's how you feel at the time, and that's how they feel. So I can resonate with them. You know what I mean? So I think that I'm in a unique position to do that.
Going back to depression part, I was supposed to ask you this earlier, but did you ever get to the state of suicidal thoughts or ideation in a sense?
No, I didn't. I've never contemplated suicide, but I remember thinking to myself, I would love it right now if somebody walked into this cell and put a bullet in my head.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've got a son, I've got a family that, need me and rely on me, even though that I'm not in a position in jail to be of any fucking benefit to them. But look, I know that that's a very controversial issue, suicide. It's a touchy issue, but my view of it is, and I'll always give an honest view, my opinion on it is that you can't do it. There is always someone that's going to suffer from your choice. I heard it, was a Jimmy Carr the other day on I think it was the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
And it was a great view of it. And he said suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary issue. And you're making the final decision on something that's going to leave your family, your friends, your kids, your loved ones with a lifetime of grief. And you are causing immense suffering. So my view on that, I didn't get to the stage where I'd never contemplated suicide, but I have experienced that feeling of I'd love to fucking die right now.
Yeah, hopelessness concept.
Yeah, so I guess it's in the same sort of wheelhouse, in the same sort of realm, but it's not the same thing. But my view was I do not have that luxury. I do not have the right to do that. I cannot leave my son in a position thinking Dad didn't think that I was worth sticking around for. So that was my view. My mum, my dad, my friends, they're all going to feel like they're going to feel hard. They're going to go through their own grief. And like we said earlier, a part of grief is you're looking for someone to attribute fucking blame to, and most of the time that's themselves. They're going to feel guilt, even though this survivor's fucking guilt or whatever you want to call it. I don't know the correct terminology for it, but it's a part of grief is that person will feel guilt. They're going to feel responsible for it in some way. My son would feel like, was I not good enough of a son for my dad? My mum would think, could I have been a better mother? And they're going to struggle with that forever. You're not around to say, no, that's not the case. So suicide was never an option and it was never on my mind, but I understand being low. I understand I call it rock bottom, and just something I say a fair few times throughout the book, and it was fucking rock bottom. I felt like the biggest piece of shit in the world. I fucking hated myself for putting my family through that again and again and again. There was self-loathing that I experienced. So I can resonate, I guess, in some way with how somebody might feel that is suicidal, and I wouldn't say, like I said, it's the same thing, but I can understand it. But no matter who you are, I would say you don't have the fucking right, because you're going to cause immense suffering to other people for what is a temporary fucking problem in your life. Even if that temporary problem is something like past trauma, you can't undo the past. So that situation that you're feeling traumatized about, depressed about, suicidal over is not going to go away, but you can learn to effectively deal with things better. I have suffered post-traumatic stress. I watched my mate burn to fucking death, for fuck's sake. I was seriously burnt fucking trying to save him life. It was a very traumatic experience that is never going to leave my mind, but I have learned to effectively deal with that. And now that I can talk about it in a way that I don't break down, I don't fucking regress into some fucking past experience, like replayed in my fucking head. So I can say that I have developed the tools, and so can anybody else, to deal with whatever past trauma that you have, whatever you're experiencing. What you're experiencing is temporary. The issue that you're experiencing those problems over may be permanent. You can't fucking change it, but the issue, the way that you feel about it is a temporary feeling, and suicide is a permanent fucking, I don't want to say solution, because it's not a solution. Yeah. It's not a solution to the problem. You're causing it, that problem, you're just putting your problem and pain onto somebody else. But it is, it's the end game. It's done. It's finished.
A permanent decision, I would say. Because, I heard somebody say the saying earlier this week as well, and quoted that exact same. And I'm going, it's not a solution though, because it just creates so much more problems or grief that those people then now have, like the questions you ask, and it's just like then they're going to have that trauma attached to their questioning of their existence as well. Was I part of that problem?
Yeah, that's right. And you're ending your pain by causing a whole lot of fucking pain to somebody else, to many other people. You are amplifying that pain that you're feeling by a tenfold to other people.
Yeah.
And they're going to suffer that forever. And then who knows what path that may lead them down. Now from their pain and their adversity, they might start now fucking going down a bad path. And who knows where that ends for them.
Yeah.
It could be in drug use. It could be contemplating suicide themselves.
Yeah.
So, like I said at the start, it's a tough subject and it's a controversial subject, but you have to speak to the core and the truth of any fucking issue. That's the only way that you can solve any fucking problem or anything that's going on in your life, is to be open and honest about it. And this is the truth. It's fucking, you are being selfish and you're causing a lot of pain. You might be ending yours, but you are causing a lot of pain to a lot of other people.
We like to say, like we talked earlier, that it's not actually a concept of selfishness, because they're probably acting in a space of, because they're obviously not in the right frame.
That's right. That is true. Yep.
And they're probably thinking, you know what, this is the best thing for my family and friends, is that I'm a burden to them.
Yes.
It's probably going to relieve them from me being, pain. So we like to go along the terms of, you're not in your right frame of mind, and there's no shame about you having suicidal thoughts, and there's no guilt in a sense. I mean, in a sense, if we're going to Brene Brown and we're talking about emotions, we want people to feel the sense of guilt, because there is a progressive and productive way of thinking from a sense of guilt, because it's saying I've done something wrong, but I'm not something wrong. I'm not wrong in a sense. Whereas shame is in the concept of I am worthless, I am useless, I am wrong, I am the bad person. When it's just like, no. We want to, when people are in that state of mind, it's like they are completely not in what's the right word? Reality. They're completely. They
will be convinced that they are, like you said, a burden to their family, and their family would be better. I have heard many people that have been suicidal, because one of the things that I went through my process of my own self-development was talking to a lot of other people and listening to their stories and their own experiences. And obviously in prison, people go through all, like suicidal thoughts. So I've spoken to people that have been there, and that's something that they have said themselves, that and I want to be clear, I'm not shaming anybody for being in that headspace. There's definitely, I would never shame anybody for being, because it is a mental health issue and it is a fucking health problem, and I would never fucking criticize anybody or fucking run them down or try and shame them in some way for what is essentially a fucking health problem. And that's what, so I've heard that myself from a few people, to say that in that state of mind, that is the way that you feel, and they probably felt like that they were doing everybody else a favor. But you have to understand that being in you are not doing anybody a favor. You have to be able to separate the way that you're feeling to reality.
Rational thinking.
Yeah, that's right. And that is what is missing in that situation. That fucking rational thought process is gone. It's not there. So I think that's good for us and anybody with any sort of platform to talk about it type of stuff, because maybe when they're not in that rational thought process, having heard something like this, it might just be the thing that they go, wait a minute, am I thinking clearly?
Yeah.
I remember on that podcast, I remember them saying, that is how I feel. I feel like I'm a burden, but they were discussing that, and that's not the case. They always say maybe maybe a bad analogy that brings them back from the edge, brings them back, to stops them fucking jumping and whatever it is, you know what I mean? So
making that fatal decision.
Yep.
I remember actually recently this week, 1 second. I actually heard, it was really funny, because we were out at Jindabyne doing Talk to Me Bro stuff. and a year 7 comes up to me and one other, some other people, and says, "Oh, I've got a question for you. Would you take $10 million if you knew that you were going to die tomorrow?" Sort of, in a sense, if you take the $10 million, the consequence or the catch is you are going to die tomorrow. Or would you rather not take the $10 million and not die the next day? I'm going, well, no, I wouldn't take the $10 million. She's like, that's right, because life is worth more than $10 million. But then I overheard someone else say, because she hadn't fully elaborated the situation, she just said, "Oh, would you take $10 million right now?" And the person would say yes, and then she's like, "But there's a catch, you will die tomorrow," sort of thing. And he's like, no, I'd still take the $10 million so I could set my family up. And that way I know that, like, if you told me at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, I have $10 million and I know I'm going to die tomorrow, so I will easily find a way to make it beneficial for my family. But I'm there going, but that's still leaving, like, sure, your family might be set up.
Well, but another way of putting that question is, would your family take the $10 million or your life?
Yeah.
And they're not going to, and I doubt that anyone's family are going to say, we want the 10.
Exactly.
No one's going to say that.
They're not going to consider that. And it's kind of in a sense, you're not thinking of how they would feel. I think they would prefer you to still be alive and them being blessed by you helping and supporting them than have $10 million and not share it with you, or not, and know that this 10 billion, whatever it is, dollars, is because my son or my brother or my partner, whatever, sacrificed their life, and I can't enjoy this. I can't feel good about this.
I would argue that they would pay $10 million to have you around.
Exactly. Yeah. Like so I was really along the lines of suicidal thoughts, or having this concept of, I would rather not be here because I would rather set them up or not be a burden. They would be better. It's like, no, I don't think like we said, they're not in their rational mind to realize it's not life is so much more precious than,
more valuable.
Yeah, than the problem that you have. Like it's a lot more important to be alive than thinking that the problem is you, sort of thing. And that if you take away the problem, that they're going to be so much more better off when they're not.
I'm sure you would have heard, I don't know if you call it an analogy, or if you look at the probability of you even being alive, what are the odds? Is
like 1 to 1 million or something.
More. Like if you talk about, you got to get down to the nasty aspect. Right? It depends on your sperm count. Maybe you were one of 3. His dad was just not living a healthy life. He was fucking, you know what I mean? So you made it. You were one of 3. But the statistics would say that you're like a 1 in $20 million. $20 million. You've got that 10 million on my mind. Hey, you're a 1 in 20 million chance, but that's only for one load. How many times? So
okay.
You know what I mean? Like how
many loads?
Well, what if your dad had 3 wanks a day the week before?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. From the teenage years that you count all the times.
So what is the real chance of you even being alive? Like, you think there's fucking 20 million or 50 million sperm or 100 million sperm or however much it is per load, and how many loads over a lifetime, and you were the one. You were in the right load, and you were 1 in 20 million or 1
You were the winner. You were the winner. You swam to that egg first and got there. If you want to think about
those numbers, you were like 1 in 100 fucking billion. Whatever it might be.
Whatever it is, yeah.
That is a crazy, crazy thing. That's just the chance of you being alive. You won the fucking lottery. Well, what are the fucking chances of being here? And then to think, like, there's so many ways to look at your life and realize that fuck how valuable it is. Like appreciation for life. And that's maybe another aspect of contemplating mortality and death.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's another aspect of it. Just how fucking lucky you were to even fucking be here. Like, what a privilege. What are you going to do? You won the fucking lottery. What if you did win the lottery? We're throwing 20 million and $10 million lots around. What would you fucking do if you won that money? So like, you've won that jackpot. You've already won the fucking lotto just by fucking being here. Like, they're crazy odds. So I think if you can appreciate life for what it is, and just even the small things in life. Like, one of the things I say in the book, I can't even remember what fucking chapter it's in, but I say, like, just to be alive and not an Angus beef cow fucking for slaughter. Just I think it's in the time is now.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, chapter 3.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. Let's not get too carried away. But yeah, I say, like, just the fact that you're a human being and not a cow for slaughter. Like
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4, there you go, you went far off. You know, you can appreciate and take the joy in life, the small things, like just a good cup of tea. You know, like just taking time, like I do it all the time. You sit there, you know, like I live, you know, you've got nice mountain views and just look at the trees and just go, fucking how nice.
100%.
Like, you know, like you can appreciate the small things and like how lucky you are to be here and just enjoy a breeze on your face and just to spend time with your family. Your missus, I love my missus. I've got a great partner and she's been a big part. I made the decision to, you know, sort my life out, but having good support in somebody. And sometimes you think, you know, like you take things for granted. You might have an argument with your partner or something like that, but sometimes I sit back and think, fuck, I'm lucky. Like she's just a genuinely good human being. And you think, like, that is something that you take for granted in your relationship. And you know, the things like, fuck, how lucky am I just to have somebody that just cares for me and loves me and is just a good person, you know, that they are. And then I think, how lucky am I just to have a son and, you know, like to be a dad. And these are all small things and aspects of life that we all take for granted. Like we all take our partner for granted all the time. Take the fact that I'm lucky enough to be a father, you know, for instance, you know, and then I'm lucky enough to, you know, like live in Australia. Like, what a country to live in. Like, what's what's going on in Israel and Palestine at the moment? Like, can you imagine fucking being in there? That's a fucking horrible situation. Yeah. What are the people living in Ukraine, in fucking war-torn Africa? There's a lot of parts of the world that are not so fucking great. We've won the fucking lottery again just by living in Australia, living in the developed world. I can go to the tap right now and turn on fucking water. What percentage of the fucking Earth's population do not have that luxury?
100%.
So I think... you know, this all come from, you know, like suicide and stuff like that and, you know, not feeling like life's great, but fuck, life is great. And like, you know, if you can just appreciate the small things and what you've got, might go a long way to feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. But no, thank you so much for taking the time, jumping on the podcast with me and explaining a little bit and talking a little bit about your book. Go out and get it, please.
Please.
Do yourself a favor. If you don't know the system, like I didn't know the system, go ahead and... I don't even know why I'm talking to the camera. The camera's not even on.
You can talk to mine.
Maybe I should charge it so that I don't have to drive blindly.
It's an easily solved problem. Get a charger for about $12 from the server. Let's sort your problem right out.
But audience, you can't see me, but you can hear me. Go read the book. Go get the book because it is great insight of, 1, the system, 2, the mind, in a sense, trips or the mind adversity that you go through of someone who has been in the system or has been, in prison. But also the message that comes across of your life is short. What are you doing with it? Maybe you should start putting your life into question in a sense, like of what you're doing. But before we go, 2 more questions. One is what is one message you'd like to put off? Oh, actually, no, 3 questions. What would you want have been put in the book that's not in there?
Ego.
Yeah.
It's probably, I touch on it and I'll refer to it, but I think that a lot of our issues come from our ego. And the ego is it's a complicated topic because when I say the word ego, I guess a lot of people get taken to an image of somebody walking around a bit tough with your fucking chest puffed out.
Egotistical,
egotistic behaviour, but that's not what the ego is. You know, there's a depth to ego that I would have loved to go on into the book. It's going into my next one.
Excellent.
But I would say that it's an oversight on my part not putting it in, but it's good because I've got content for another one. But I think that if you can understand or tap into a little bit about knowing what's going on behind the thought process, then you're sort of starting to get a basic understanding or at least the premise of what the ego is. And once you delve a little bit, you start to realise how much the ego is behind the wheel.
Yeah.
it's I don't want to go into it too much because I'll be giving away one thing. But like I guess a basic way of looking at the ego is like, what is the image of yourself that you relate to or you see in yourself? You are attached to, because we are attached to our ego. It's like, who am I as who is Scott Keighran, and what do I relate to, or what do I identify that is, and who is Scott Keighran?
Yeah.
And the other aspect of the ego would, and there's more to it, but another aspect to the ego if I go with a G, not a B, not the my ego would be that same. The image that you are putting out to the world for others to perceive, and who other people connect with, and like what you want people to perceive and connect with.
Yeah, 100%.
It's multifaceted. There's a lot to it, but if I would probably, I'd love to wish I had to put that in the book, because I think it goes a long way to understanding some of the issues that you have. But it'll be in the next one.
Excellent.
So read that too when it comes out. Read this one first.
Yeah.
If you haven't got it, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Explain yourself.
Second question. If people choose not to read the book and still choose not to read the book, what is one thing you would say to them, or the core message, or the 2 core messages or 3 core messages that this book is about for them to take away?
Well, if I would say, what would I like people to take away from it, or a message I'd like to get across, if you're not going to read it, then we talked about adversity. Like I said, I think it's got the greatest potential to be of benefit to your life if you can understand it, or at least understand my view of it, because it's through great suffering and great adversity that I've been able to make the changes. Like, everybody's own set of circumstances and your own suffering and your own adversity is individual to you, but something that's not a big deal to me might be the biggest deal in the world to somebody else, and they cause them immense suffering. Yeah. So it's unique to you, but it's what's not unique and what's universal is how you view it, is what you get out of it. So if you can look at something negative and something that you've suffered or endured through a positive lens, and try to work out, what can I take from this? What can I learn from this? Is life trying to teach me a lesson, and I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. I'm going to turn something bad into something good. Anybody can do that. There's no one, I don't want to say I don't care what your circumstances are, because that's the wrong way to put it, but whatever your circumstances are, whatever suffering you've been through, whatever your adversity is that you've had to endure, there is something good to take from it, regardless of what it is. And I would say the harder it is, the more you've got to gain. Yeah,
100%. And the last question, if you could choose 3 superpowers, what would they be?
God. Fucking hell.
And why?
Well, I would fly, because in my dreams I can fly, and I fucking love it. I would just out of the off. I would love to be able to fly. But I guess if it's a superpower, I would just like to have the ability to, I want to understand all that I could understand. It's the ability to learn what I need to learn and understand it, and have like the nature, the true nature of things, see things for what they really are. Mm-hmm. Like, I always contemplate, like, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but there's interesting arguments that people make around things like, do you live in, like, say, the Matrix or something, say, for instance. But, like, I contemplate weird things like that sometimes, but I would just like to know the true nature of reality. Is there a God? Is this universe that we live in? Is there multiple universes? The big questions, I guess. I just want I would say, to understand the true nature of life. Everything. I know that's fucking weird. Everyone's going to say, what the fuck is this idiot talking about? You just read with the biggest load of shit I've ever heard in my life. But I would say that's a superpower, to have, like, genuine understanding of the true nature of reality. Yeah. That's 2, I guess. And if I understand that, I don't need 3rd one, because I know everything.
True. But you'll still be limited if you have a body that's only capable of flying and not doing anything else.
The 3rd one, I'm going to take a rain check on, and I'll fucking... I honestly don't know.
Move things.
Invisibility. Yeah. Get away with so much. I would not have gone to jail at all. I would have got away with everything. I was going to say turn back time, but I think there's no value in that.
I agree. Yeah. I actually agree with that.
I think like that is a waste of time. you can't turn back the clock, and even if I could, I wouldn't. So no, I wouldn't turn back time. I'd just be invisible, so I didn't get caught.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much again for coming on to the podcast with me, and again talking about your book.
Thanks for having me on.
Congratulations as well for selling 100 copies.
Yep.
So far.
Yep.
And actually getting it published, going full out and putting in your own money. Like you said it was thousands of dollars to do. We talked about it earlier. You went out of your own pocket to make a positive impact on people's lives, and I think that's honourable. Yeah,
well, money, and I discussed this with you beforehand. I'm not allowed to profit from this book. It would be seen as proceeds of crime. So money has never been a motivating factor for me. It's not a motivating factor, and if it was, it couldn't be. I'm not allowed to keep anything. So I've put my own money into it because I am genuine when I say that the motivation behind this is to be of benefit to other people. I want to be of benefit to other people. I want to use my experiences for good. I want to, like I said, there's an aspect of redemption in there. I've put bad energy, negative energy, bad negative actions, which has been detrimental to a lot of people, detrimental to the community, etc. And I want to do the opposite. I want to put positivity out there. I want to do good things. I want to use my experiences for good. There's, buy the book by all means. It's good to get the money in, but it's not about money for me, and I can't profit for myself. The money's going to go somewhere else. The rights for the book are going to somebody else. I did put my own money into it, but because I needed to. This for me was I had a plan. I had goals that I set for myself in jail, which was a part of my process to being a better man and being successful and all that type of stuff. So writing this book, was step one. There's lots more to come. Profiting from it is not a consideration. But I wanted to invest, and it takes money to get these things up and running, and I was happy to put my own money into it because if that's what it takes to achieve my goals of being of benefit to other people, then it's worth every dollar.
Yeah, sweet. And thank you everyone who's listened to this so far. If you do want to go get the book, where can we find it?
You can go to my Shopify site, which is www.prisonpoetry.com.au, or you can follow my socials, which is Scott TK Keighran. I think Scott _TK _Keighran. I know that's a mouthful, but you'll find it.
You'll find it in the description anyway.
Yeah, and there's links on my Instagram and Facebook that take you to that site. I'm trying to get the audiobook and ebook links up. There is links there that can take you to, I think it's Chirp is the website. I'm trying to get the links up for Audible, which is a site that people are more familiar with. Yeah. So if you are wanting an audio book version or ebook version, you can get it through the website, but you'll have to sign up to, I think it's Chirp. But if that's not desirable to you, you can hopefully wait a week or two and I'll have the Audible version up there.
Yes, I want it.
Get it?
All right, sweet. So thank you again very much for joining us, and again.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got a lot out of it as much as I did with the conversation with Scott. If you haven't already, grab the book at prisonpoetry.com, or you can follow his Instagram tag, which I'll tag around here. You can message him on that and he will send you a copy of his book. So I please encourage you, read it, check it out. Great insights in the book throughout the whole book. And hopefully, again, you apply it to your life. King up.